Thank you. Thanks for making it bright and early this morning. We've got 15 minutes and we're in Switzerland, so we're going to be on time. Where's my thing? Here we go. Oh, some people are late. This is not very Swiss of you. So about a year ago, well, 2 years ago, I started this fund, and about a year ago when I was starting to talk about our thesis, I kept getting asked this question, so what's the intersection? What's the convergence? Tell me like where the gold is. And I was like, okay. And it was kind of a complicated thing to explain. And over the last years, we've done now 10 investments in this fund. It's becoming clearer to me how to explain this and also where this convergence is really happening. This is me. This is why I think I know what I'm talking about. I did a PhD in AI in '97 at Cambridge. We actually were working on the same kind of technology that I use today. There's been a number of advancements in the field. Obviously, most strong is like we actually have data now, and obviously we have incredible compute, orders of magnitude more than we had before. I've built companies, sold companies in distributed systems, started one of the first institutional funds in crypto, built my own crypto project / company. I'm trying to use the word company now to describe things we do in crypto rather than projects because it kind of sounds like high school otherwise. And then most recently started Nazare. In case you don't know what Nazare means, Nazare is a little town just northwest of Lisbon on the coast of Portugal where the largest surfable waves in the world exist. And the rest of the year, there's no waves. It's not a surf spot. There are surf spots further north in Ericeira, but Nazare, once a year, has the largest surfable waves in the world. So if you want to, there's a great HBO documentary called The 100-Foot Wave, which talks about this. So back in the beginning, we had crypto mining. So proof of work was everything was proof of work before proof of stake. Bitcoin was initially mined on, well, first on laptops and then GPUs and then eventually on ASICs. Ethereum carried on being mined on GPUs, and this caused an amazing sort of surge in amassing GPUs and really bankrolled a lot of NVIDIA's early progress. And then all of a sudden, we switched to proof of stake in Ethereum and many other projects, and there's just tons of GPUs sitting around. So what happens next? Well, AI happens next. So at the same time as Ethereum was switching, it was like some kind of like simulation, right? At the same time as Ethereum switches down to proof of stake and all the GPUs are effectively sitting around idle, the AI space starts coming up. And in 2016, one of the big innovations was the idea that you could use GPUs to train these models very effectively. And that has led to now a very large demand for GPU space. You may not know this, but CoreWeave is one of the most successful crypto companies ever. So CoreWeave started as a crypto miner, initially focused on Ethereum, and then pivoted around about the time of 2019, and also as they realized Ethereum's demand was going to go down, and got a massive injection of capital from NVIDIA to focus on AI. Right? So CoreWeave is now just went public, I think at 19 billion, and is one of the dominant players in the GPU cloud space. So a lot of the initial sort of drive from crypto ended up financing AI infrastructure. So it's almost like the sort of the roads, the pipelines were laid for what happened next. And then at the same time, when FTX was going down, AI was coming up. So around about that same year, 2022, when everything just got really bad. At the end of 2022 is when ChatGPT 3.5 was released. And so a lot of excitement happened around this period in AI at the same time as a lot of really, really bad news happened in crypto. Like I was wondering if we were going to make it. And after being in the space for a very long time, I like many people thought about leaving. I stuck around. I'm still in crypto. I'm on the board of various companies and still building things, but I've also kind of pivoted to AI. So Jason Calacanis famously posted this, and he, it's been. I think there's actually like another repost of this. He did it twice, but I wrote a recent article which is like, if you're in crypto, pivot to AI again, because in my mind there's only two buckets left. There's only two product market fits happening currently, and I'm very focused on product market fit after what is it now, 12, almost 13 years in crypto. we've definitely got it in finance. If you've been asleep, finance is happening. Finance, and I'm not talking DeFi, I'm talking finance. Finance is absorbing DeFi. DeFi is becoming the rails for finance. We've got SPACs, we've got ETFs, we've got all these different opportunities, real-world assets, but it's finance. In between these two areas is like this sort of valley of despair. And I'm talking like NFTs, identity, like gaming, like it's really sad. Like, and there's lots of potentially very interesting things to invest in at this point because you should be counter-cyclical. And then AI. So what the hell's going on in AI? So DeFi is basically finance and better engineering. It's just like trying to find ways to just make what, if you've ever dug into it or have ever tried to do a wire, you realize there's just like a bunch of paper moving hands. And this is one of the first ideas in crypto is like, okay, you've got Bitcoin, the store of value, but then what else could you do with the blockchain? And even before Ethereum or anybody built smart contracts, we were all thinking, okay, well, maybe we can like try and smooth out this stuff where we can find like much more efficient ways to do things. And we absolutely have product market fit right now. And so this is where like tons of the dollars are going into, all the investments going into, all the talent's going into. And this is what we thought we were building, right? Like back when I was investing in companies and hanging out in Berlin and like sort of 2017, 18, we thought we were going to change the world. It's like we're building this world computer, we're like building these decentralized things. People had a mission. People were looking at this saying, I'm here to change the world. But what we actually ended up building was some very interesting things, some very interesting technologies. Like forget all the tokens, forget all the price go up, everything else. So a lot of these components here, so first of all, wallets and coordination, privacy and verifiability, which is like we'll get into in a second, and then this kind of like frictionless markets, what people call this like internet capital markets today. And then of course, programmable composable value. Now, what these give you is the components that you need for a decentralized AI framework, and many other things, whether it's decentralized or otherwise. And back in 2013, when I first got into the space, all the weirdos were in Bitcoin. All the weirdos were in like, I mean, it was just Bitcoin back then. And forget about crypto. We didn't have that name yet. We didn't know what to call it. So it was just Bitcoin and other things. And now all the weirdos are in AI. Like, sure, there's like the big companies and so on and so forth. But there are kids in their 20s. Sorry, everyone in their 20s, but like kids in their 20s who believe they're building a superintelligence, like collectively. They think that they're bringing something into the world. And they're doing it not because number go up. That's not their primary thing. Sure, that they're economic, they're capitalists, they're building startups. They want to like do something else with their time in the future. But they're doing it because they really believe in something, and it's very powerful, right? So this is the meta currently, but there's a number of bottlenecks here. So there's this famous thing called the scaling law, which it's a bit like Moore's law for AI, for intelligence, which is basically like take the transformer architecture, add data, add compute, and intelligence goes up. Except it does, and then it kind of doesn't. So if you've been noticing using ChatGPT 4 and then ChatGPT 4.5, and you're kind of like, yeah, it's kind of better, but like I was kind of expecting more by now. And the things are incredible, right? But it's like it's got no memory, it doesn't know, it forgets who I am, it doesn't know what's going on. And they're trying to fix all these different things. And so just like with Moore's law, so Moore's law also followed a very non-linear pattern of growth. Everyone understands Moore's law. It's like the law which predicts the amount of computation you're going to have over time and how much you can fit onto a single chip. Now that was originally done just by improvements in lithography. In other words, like just sort of like obvious approaches. But it required then innovations which were sort of outside of the kind of the standard research track in order to continue that sort of like self-fulfilling property of doubling compute power. Same kind of things happening in AI. So we're now starting to see now like different agent architectures that are coordinating, different kinds of, I'm actually going off topic here, but there's many kind of like nonlinear innovations that are happening in that space that are going to drive through this increase in the scaling law. So a number of the things that we've been building over the last, I say we in the crypto world, in the last sort of 10, 12 years, are like very important now for the next wave of innovation in AI, we believe. And one of those waves of innovation in AI, I believe, is decentralization. There are a number of other areas that we're focusing on, but the decentralization space we think is very interesting. So I'm not going to go through all of these examples because I'm on Swiss time, so I'm going to make sure I stick to the script here. But we'll dig into these in terms of performance in the wild. So one of these is a Nazare portfolio company, which is Ion. I wish we were in Stripe, but we got in, would have been too late. Let's just talk about Stripe for a second. So last year, and I think it was October, Stripe released an agent API, an agent SDK, which allows agents to communicate across the Stripe network and basically do payments and all these things. Sounds familiar? Well, this is the script that everyone was running a year ago in crypto. They're like, you can't do agents without crypto. Well, it turns out you can, as long as everyone's on Stripe. And then you're like, well, not everyone's going to be on Stripe. What about the people who aren't on Stripe in different countries? And what about the edge cases? Like, okay, great. Well, guess what the next thing they released is? A stablecoin API. So right now, if you ask me what the convergence in crypto and AI is, I would say Stripe, because they are. And these are dominant, right? These are dominant in terms of how people pay for things in the Web 2, which I hate that word, but the real world, right? The world outside of the very, very small number of developers that we have in crypto. So if our stuff's going to hit mainstream, it's going to happen through stablecoins. It's not necessarily going to happen through incentivized architectures and deepins and so on. It's going to happen in boring old stablecoins. So right now, if you're in crypto, people look at you and go, "You're in crypto? I like stablecoins. I don't like crypto." This reminds me of 2013 when people were like, "I like the technology behind Bitcoin, but I don't like the Bitcoin." And this went on for years and years and years. So now the current meta is a stablecoin is not crypto. More funky stuff. Noose Research came out of the Museum of Crypto Art. It was a Discord channel. And these guys are now, they just did a round at, I think, $1 billion valuation with Paradigm leading. They're going to launch a decentralized training and inference network and reinforcement learning network on Solana. And these guys have built some of the best open source training models, Hermes and other approaches they built out, that are very respected in the conventional AI world. Ion is building a decentralized compute cloud combined with Northern Data, which is a large GPU cloud based out of Germany. Tether is partnering with them to build out these things and stablecoins to allow them to do both a hybrid of centralized and decentralized stuff. We've got another couple of examples here. Prime Intellect, we're an investor in this from the earliest round. These guys are building out decentralized training algorithms. So this is an example where in order to do decentralized AI, you actually need to change the algorithms by which AI happens. So you have to have decentralized training algorithms, you have inference algorithms, you need communication mechanisms such that you can compress and reduce the amount of data that's transferred between nodes in the network. Vast AI is another one of our investments. These have built a decentralized GPU platform. It's actually not crypto incentivized, but the two co-founders are both from my former crypto company, Orchid. And then Hellas is building out essentially a decentralized network that allows you to prove whether or not a particular model was executed. So one of the problems in decentralized systems is you actually don't know whether things are done the way you thought they were. Blockchain doesn't fix everything. So these guys have figured out that mechanism too. We're kind of in this moment where everyone's like, okay, well, now what? And this is in the enterprises, we're actually in a trough of disillusionment. It's a very weird mixed bag world. And this is in AI in general. But at the same time, consumer feedback and consumer expectations are skyrocketing. So people just want to use it more and more. More people are using, I think 10% of the world is now using OpenAI, was the funny statistic they had recently. And then a lot of the scaling laws are broken. So we're kind of this weird sort of mixture. So how this is getting fixed, and this is, again, talking about not crypto, but other ways of investing in this space, is changing the way that AI works. So looking beyond the algorithmic space, looking beyond this Tower of Babel that's been built of a particular stack of AI and keeping everything on the transformer architecture, add data, add GPUs. People are looking at different ways to innovate. So there's Featherless, and also Mixtral, of course, from Paris, and a number of other companies, DeepSeek, that are focused on different ways to change the algorithm in order to make this stuff scale better. We call this matcha. It's not political. So make AI cheap again. So some people ask me whether it was ever cheap, and I was like, yeah, it was. In fact, back when I was using it, it was free. I was at Cambridge. It was free compute. And that's what we do. So we invest in essentially scalable AI, of which decentralized AI is part of it, and then some of it is crypto incentivized. And I'm early, so I'm on time. Good? Okay, thanks very much. Oh.
Thank you.
One more thing, not to be Steve Jobs, but one more thing. I do have some decks on the thesis, etc. if you want to grab one on your way out.